Culture clash and Clampett heart, loyalty, laughter, and the enduring charm of the Hills. I have always been struck by how completely these episodes taken together form a single sustained argument about what lasts. Computer punch cards, society columns, suits of lights, purchased curses, each arrives with the confidence of the modern or the exotic, and each is quietly absorbed, revised, or refused by a family that never stops measuring the world against an older standard of care. The first time I finished this particular stretch of the Beverly Hillbillies, I remember sitting in the quiet afterward with a feeling closer to gratitude than to simple amusement. Something had been tested, something had held. What still moves me after all these years is the consistency of that holding. Jed Clampett walks through every complication with the same unhurried courtesy. He does not understand the blue book or the corridor or the language of data cards, yet he never answers confusion with unkindness. Buddy Ebsen's performance remains for me one of the great quiet achievements of American television. He makes decency look like the most natural thing in the world. And in doing so he makes every scheme around him look slightly smaller. When the computer declares a perfect match, Jed talks to the woman until a reel of recognition appears. When the matador is presented as a prize, Jed listens and then watches his daughter decide for herself. When the curse is pronounced, he does not mock the fear, he simply stays present until the fear can be set down. That steadiness is the moral center the entire series keeps returning to. And I never tire of watching it work. Granny's fire is the other half of the same heart. Irene Ryan plays her as a force of pure protective weather, capable of potions, of coming out parties, of packing the house against doom, and of refusing an outdoor honeymoon on the plain ground of bodily comfort. She is never merely comic. The comedy arises because her love is so absolute that it will use any tool that comes to hand and then discard the tool the moment it threatens the people it was meant to serve. I cannot watch her move through these episodes without feeling a private, almost familial loyalty of my own. She is the part of the show that refuses to be modernized, and in that refusal she keeps the emotional temperature honest. Jethro's enthusiasms, the questionnaire, the matador dream, the sudden interest in gypsy girls carry a different kind of innocence. Max Baer Jr. never asks us to laugh at the character so much as to laugh with the sheer size of his hope. He wants a sweetheart, a career, a suit of lights, a place in whatever glittering system has just appeared on the horizon. The systems keep failing him, or he keeps failing the systems, and yet the hope itself is never made contemptible. That strikes me still as a small act of generosity on the show's part. In a later age of sharper satire, Jethro might have been punished for his pretensions. Here, he is simply allowed to keep trying, and the family is allowed to keep loving him through every attempt. Ellie Mae's soft strength threads through every larger plot like a quiet corrective. Whether she is turning a fighting bull into a pet or throwing a matador who has forgotten that animals can suffer, Donna Douglas plays her with a clarity that never needs raising of the voice. She is the character least impressed by surfaces, pink stockings, punched cards, society columns, and most responsive to living need. In a composite so full of schemes and mismatches, her presence feels like the series reminding itself what the schemes are supposedly for. The culture clash that gives the show its comic engine is never finally a clash of equals. Beverly Hills has the language of science, of status, of professional spectacle. The Clampetts have the older language of loyalty, weatherwork, and the refusal to let any of their own go through the world alone. Every time the two languages meet, in the roto-romance office, in the decorated mansion, in the bullring on the porch with the gypsies, the older language proves more elastic and more durable. It can absorb a computer, a jug band, a tablecloth, cape, a purchased curse, and still remain itself. That durability is what I keep coming back for. I think often of the historical moment that produced these episodes. The middle 1960s were full of systems claiming to know us better than we knew ourselves, new technologies, new social rituals, new professional roles. The Beverly Hillbillies never delivered sermons against those systems. It simply placed a family that still answered to an earlier measure of human worth inside the path of the new claims and let the comedy record what happened. The record remains surprisingly tender. The modern world is not evil in these stories. It is only incomplete. It keeps forgetting the part that cannot be punched onto a card or dedicated like a bull's ear or frightened away with $100 curse. What continues to feel like a refuge to me is the show's insistence that laughter and loyalty can occupy the same space without either one canceling the other. The misunderstandings are genuine, the schemes often backfire. The costumes and the potions and the disguises produce real chaos. And underneath it all, the Clampetts keep choosing one another. They rearrange the computer's perfect matches. They turn a social disaster into a masquerade and then enjoy the party anyway. They let a bull named Marvin live another day. They refuse the frostbit ground. In every case, the choice is the same: the living people in the room matter more than the system that delivered them there. I have watched these episodes across enough years now to know that the laughter changes slightly with each return. Sometimes I laugh at the pure mechanical perfection of a gag, the income written on the back of a hand, the chimpanzee engraver, the earring on a banker's lobe. Sometimes I laugh more softly at the recognition of how little the fundamental collisions have aged. The tools of mismatching people have grown more sophisticated since roto-romance. The hunger to manage love and status and fear has not grown any wiser. The Clampetts still look like a workable answer to that hunger, not because they are simple but because they are loyal in ways the systems keep failing to imitate. When I think of the series as a whole, it is this composite stretch that often rises first in my mind: the potion giving way to the punch card giving way to the coming out party, the party giving way to the bull ring giving way to the curse giving way to the refused outdoor honeymoon. Each movement is funny. Taken together, they form something more lasting than any single joke, a sustained portrait of people who keep meeting the world's complications with the same unbroken intention to take care of their own. That intention is the Clampett heart. It is what the culture clash keeps testing. It is what the laughter keeps making visible. And it is why after all these years I still feel the same quiet joy and protective tenderness I felt the first time I met them. The Hills are never far away in these stories. Even when the family is deepest in Beverly Hills complications, the older measure remains available, practical, unsentimental, and stubbornly alive. I finish this long looking back with the same simple conviction I started with: some kinds of care do not go out of date. The Clampetts still practice them. The episodes still record the practice with affection and precision, and I still find every time I return that the recording is enough to make the ordinary world feel a little more navigable, a little more humorous, and a little more worthy of the loyalty we keep trying in our own incomplete ways to offer one another.